Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weight loss workshop. I'm excited to see you all here, and I'm glad that we are having this awesome time together. And so, everyone, I know some of you are here live, some of you are here on the recording, and if you want, I think I'm just going to make sure I'm going to mute everyone so you'll just come off mute if you want to talk and have anything to say. That way we can make sure all the guests on the recording can hear. And if you have any questions, just jump in, chime in. I'm going to do Q&A at the end on the recording and then also off the recording if there's anything that you don't want to ask on recording. And so this is basically the weight loss workshop again. My thing is, I never wanted to focus on weight loss just because I felt like it's always been like for me, it's like a byproduct. Like I don't feel like that's the main thing about going plant based or, about. Oh, here's Nancy. Welcome, Nancy. I just got
Hi,
started. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Sorry I can't hear late.
No, that's okay. I was waiting. I was like, I think Nancy's gonna come in, but then I got your message, so I just now started the recording.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you could make it. I just told everyone that this is not live or anything, but it is a recording. And so, obviously other people might get the recording or purchase the recording. So I disclosed that to everybody so that it didn't think it was just us here. And I've already, all I did was say, welcome to the weight loss workshop. So you didn't miss anything at all. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for waiting. I'm gonna mute my mic. I'm doing stuff right now.
Okay, everybody's working, so thank you for coming and just being here live. I really appreciate it. For my first workshop, I'll just fumble through this since that's my first one, but hopefully they'll get better as I go along. And I think, all right, here we are. Welcome to the weight loss workshop. Again, I was just saying I'm excited that everyone's here, and I was saying that the reason I don't like I wasn't focused originally on weight loss was just because like I feel like it's always like a byproduct of eating healthy and getting healthy. But then I realized that there's so many things out here that are just like unhealthy, that ways that people are being told that it's to lose weight, like carnivore and these like diets that have you like eat cabbage for 7 days and just really like quick fix weight loss things. And I wanted to make sure to put something out there that and obviously my own story started, which I'll get to in a minute. You guys have heard it, but anybody new to the recording, like my own journey started just because I wanted to lose some weight. And I went down this whole trail of eventually becoming, ethically vegan based on just wanting to lose weight and finding the raw diet and all kinds of things. And this presentation won't be focused solely on raw, but I will share some things if to include raw foods, and also like my journey with starting with raw foods and why they work so well, to incorporate either a lot of them or all of them to really lose weight. And I know at least Muriel and Lee also have done that as well, like with raw foods before. So but I think it's important to put this information out there that there's a healthy way to lose weight. And I also share in this presentation why it's going to be important that you do it with plant-based food and why plant-based food works. Because even if someone was just like going vegan or going plant-based, they end up losing weight. And I never really understood what really weight loss was until I really started researching for this. And then it kind of made sense in my own journey why that happened. And then let me see if I can just, I'm going to put my, uh, let's see, video settings. Is that it? Okay, that's fine. We'll just leave it like that. But you guys can see my whole screen and not me, right? When I do this? Or is
Yes.
it only half screen? Okay, good. Because I wanted to make it as big as possible because my writing got a little small because I'm wordy. But we're going to do introduction. We'll talk about my transformation. Then we'll do the cycle of dieting, kind of like the up and down diets, and how we can create healthy comfort foods, and how weight loss happens, understanding hunger, why plant based foods work, how our body is designed, the dangers of the carnivore and low carb diets, how high saturated fat contributes to diseases like type 2 diabetes, preventing and reversing disease with this. Healing the body, weight loss, and optimal weight is the byproduct. Like, we basically don't, that's going to get into how losing weight is not the goal to continue. We just want to get to where we are using enough basically calories to support our healthy functions in our body, and we don't have to continue to lose weight. We just want to get to optimal weight, but in the beginning we're going to have to lose weight to get to that point. And then the bliss method that some of you have already heard of, and some of you are kind enough to be my in my little private coaching, so I appreciate that. And then we have some sample meal plans and ongoing encouragement if you want to work with me. And then, so just for those who are new, I'll go through it pretty quickly, because everyone else has probably heard this 9,000 times, because it was such a big moment in my life. I just was looking around. We were trying to grow microgreens, and sprouts and things like that. And Dawn came across this video called Raw, and I watched it, and something just clicked in my mind at that point. I was like, wow, okay, I never thought about what we eat actually can heal us, because I was watching all these stories and it had plant-based doctors talking on it. It was like it's probably now about 10 years old, the documentary. It might be longer than that, because I saw it 5 years ago, but I think it was about 4 years old when I actually came across it. So like some of the plant-based doctors, even that I've interviewed now, were on there, like Dr. Furman. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Now looking back, I've actually talked to them, but it just, I was like, people were saying they, reversed their diabetes, they reversed other, major diseases. They felt really vibrant. Their skin was better. Woody Harrelson was on there talking about how he reversed all his skin conditions and allergies. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. And I really ate standard American diet my entire life. Like, I mean, probably the night before I would have had chicken salad from Chipotle, or I had, steak and things like that. So it was really a big change, and everybody around me thought I was half crazy, but I did it anyway. And I started really just eating. I usually didn't eat all day. Honestly, I would just drink coffee, and I switched out from coffee to like the cold tea, because I thought, oh, that's still like not cooked. And I was really strict with it. And I ate like salad, a big salad every night. And I started like doing some studying with it. And obviously now I know the reason I was losing weight is I was eating very little calories. I was eating still once a day, but I was eating a little bit of cashew nuts. So I did have a little bit of fat in it. But for the most part, I was eating barely any fruit, really, except maybe some blueberries at the end of my meal or something like that, like some type of little fruit meal. But I was eating a lot of greens, like, lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes, broccoli. I was even shredding that in there, a little bit of cabbage. I mean, it just kept growing, sprouts. So I had very little calories in that meal, which we'll talk about. But I every night would watch these videos of these people that transform their life. And through the groups, I found, not only did people have this raw diet, but I started realizing what it was to be like raw and also be plant-based and to be vegan. And I started discovering so much. Even people on whole food plant-based foods were healing conditions. And I'm like, what is this? Maybe our body is really not designed to eat meat, when you're in that opening discovery phase. And I just started learning a lot about the body, and it really changed the way I looked at the world. And then eventually, I became learned of the food practices of what we're eating and how the animals are treated, and just like never realize that we're, breeding these animals, to they were abused, and like there's hormones in our food, and it spiraled from there, which is a whole nother a whole nother live or recording that we could get into, which I am going to do introduction to plant-based and vegan 101 type thing soon. So that'll be for that. But this is going to focus solely on the weight loss. But it was an important part of probably what kept me from always looking at this as not a diet. It was something I would never just cheat on. I'll have vegan junk food, but I will never go back to not eating, meat and dairy. And if you're new to this and you're not at that point, I completely understand. We'll just work with what we can and try to create a meal plan. But I want to share with you why it works so well. And if you're looking to lose weight, why it is the best way to include as many plant-based foods as you can. And then the bliss method is kind of just something I came up with, which we'll get into at the very end, of how kind of my journey happened and how I've been able to sustain it for 5 years and keep the weight off. The majority of the weight, I'll go up and down a little bit at certain times of the year, but never really getting anywhere near where my weight used to be, or getting above really like 125 pounds, which you can see from the picture. I was at like 185 when I started the raw diet. And that was about 6 months later, the picture on the right. And then that turned into a passion to really want to help others and help others explain all the myths that's out there about our food system and how we're supposed to eat, even how doctors and our food guidelines don't always share accurate information. And if anybody else is here and you want to introduce yourself, I know we did it at the beginning, but you could feel free now if you want to introduce yourself to everyone. And then we'll be on for Q&A at the end too. So just in case. And then let me get back here. Let's see. All right. So I was really excited about my little graphic here, the yo-yo. And then it made me want to actually get a yo-yo and try to do some of the old tricks. But the cycle of dieting, like, this is why I was so excited about this working, because for me, I tried so many diets throughout my life. Just like, the low carb, did that for a while, and high protein. And I didn't really like that because I really, especially at that point, was still craving breads and potatoes and things like that. And really, I always say this too, but even at like Thanksgiving and things in my previous life, my favorite was always the sides anyway. Like, I enjoyed the mashed potatoes, the vegetables, and the stuff that went along with it, and not so much, the bread, the biscuits and things, not really so much the meat anyway, even before I, knew the dangers of it health wise, and how it can affect our weight and diet. And then I was always hungry. So I think that helped me to identify a way to help people lose weight, because when you're always hungry, that's never going to work. That's not helping us nutrient wise. It's not helping our brain. And it's certainly not helping us sustain weight loss. If we're always hungry, we're always going to return to our comfort zone. So it might work for a while. And I saw this, like, now that we have these lovely social media, I would see my face in some of the pictures, and my body was bigger, and then it was smaller, and then it was bigger, and I'm like, oh, I must have been on one of those diets then, where I was just drinking a lot of water or whatever it was that I was coming up with. And what are a few reasons, you could think about? You can either tell me on the mic if you're free, or you can just think about and write down, what are a few reasons that diets didn't work with you, and what were your struggles? Were they the same as what mine were, that it always seemed like I was doing something out of the ordinary that was temporary? It never kind of stuck. And then, so now I just wanted to talk a little bit about how weight loss actually happens. And this was like very new to me because I knew that probably if you ate less, yeah, you're going to lose weight. But I never understood this until I was really researching to share this with you all. But creating a calorie deficit is the beginning of what happens. So when you eat fewer calories than your body needs for energy, your body starts using stored fat for fuel. The thing to remember though is when we're talking about energy, I'm not talking about, part of it is if you run or jog or run around the block or work out, but a lot of that is just what is your body is doing, you know, like to help you breathe or to help your blood pump through or to help your heart or to help your brain function. All of those things that we don't even realize, our body is just this amazing machine that every minute is just doing all of this work inside to keep you alive and keep you kind of, able to do your day-to-day things. And when I started looking at it like that, I was like, wow, a lot of us treat our cars or trucks or our houses, our plumbing better than we actually treat our own body. And seeing how that is what's just working so hard to keep us alive, I almost started to feel bad about, like, wow, I've been, putting any old thing in my body and hoping it just could manage it and keep it going. Um, but a nutrient dense diet, which we'll talk about, helps you to stay full and satisfied, even if you're in a calorie deficit, making it easier to maintain over time without feeling deprived. And then in the after you have the that you start using that stored fat for fuel, your body breaks down the fat into small pieces called fatty acids that actually, this is a simplified version of it, but it can actually burn it for energy. So when you eat nutrient rich foods like fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, your body gets the vitamins and minerals it needs, making fat burning more efficient. And then, believe it or not, those fats actually, like, you breathe out those fatty acids. They come out when you go to the bathroom. So, like, that's why in the beginning, when people say you're losing a lot of water weight and things like that, you probably are going to, especially if you start eating a lot of hydrating foods and changing your diet and losing weight, you're going to be ended up going to the bathroom peeing it out, basically. I'm sure there's a better word for that, but that's basically what's happening there. And then as you energy use and fat loss, so the fatty acids are turned into energy for your body, and then, as I said, through breathing and going to the bathroom, they're removed. So eating healthy whole foods boosts your metabolism, and it's helping your body burn energy efficiently, and it keeps losing fat. It's like if you were putting logs on the fire, there's certain things that are not going to burn, and then there's certain things that are going to burn. And when you put the right nutrients in, because our body is supposed to be getting the best foods for our digestion to function. So the hormonal balance also, as you lose weight, your hunger hormones can change, so it's going to make you feel hungrier, but the healthy foods keep you full for longer. And then eventually, what you want to make sure of, though, because I think a mistake that a lot of people make, and I've told some of you this that I'm working with, is make sure you're eating enough. Because what we do is we take all our pre programming from our old diets, like how we used to eat. Let's see, I think somebody's trying to get in. Let's see. Oh, I think Tara must have, I didn't even notice that she had to cut out and then came back in. Sorry, Tara, welcome back. I hope you weren't waiting long. But we were just getting into the part here about the energy use and fat loss and eating enough, because as you lose weight, you never hear people say my stomach shrunk after you've been eating, healthy for a while. Like if you're used to eating a certain amount, and then eventually after you've been on this certain diet for a couple of months, you start to feel like you need less. But basically that's just your hormones changing, your insulin levels and things, making you feel that you are not as hungry all the time, and the healthy foods are starting to keep you full longer. Like that's where you want to get to, that optimal place where you're needing less calories, really. But the thing is, in the beginning, let's say you're used to eating a breakfast sandwich, and this could go for those of you who are already plant-based or vegan, and those of you who are still working your way there that might be watching this, let's say in the morning you eat a breakfast sandwich, and then for lunch you eat a cheeseburger and fries, whether it be a vegan version or regular, and then at dinner you might eat some I don't know, hamburger helper or something you cook for the family, or you might have baked potato and some type of meat, and then dessert ice cream or whatever. You're eating like a lot of calories, so you can't expect to change to eating fruit and expect to be able to eat one orange for lunch. When I say eat fruit for lunch, now I'm talking about eat four oranges if that's what it does, but get yourself full. If you're talking about having a salad, whatever they serve at the store is not a salad, or at the restaurants, that little thing with lettuce and tomato. No, you're going to need a big salad, and you're going to need also some kind of, in my opinion, healthy fat in there, like maybe avocado, nuts, seeds, even if you make, a dressing based in that once you're a little more experienced. But it definitely, you want to make sure you're eating enough, because that's what makes us fail. Somebody's, starts out and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to eat really healthy, and then a month later it's like, I can't do this, I'm starving all the time. We don't want that. And here's an example of why. Well, I should have probably put this before, but first I started to think, well, what is a calorie? A calorie is basically, I think it's something we hear every day, and I never realized what in the world is a calorie anyway. It's a unit of energy. Specifically in nutrition, it refers to the amount of energy that food provides when consumed. Our bodies need calories to function, as they fuel everything from basic. One second, someone's trying to come in. Oh, I think Tara must be having a problem with her uh, staying connected. I think she's back in. Um, but a calorie, I'll just start from there, is again a unit of energy, and it's our bodies need calories to function, as they fuel everything from the basic metabolic processes like breathing and maintaining body temperature to physical activities like walking, exercising, or even thinking. I probably jumped in and said this slide earlier. It should have went ahead, but hey, it was getting late last night. So when I was putting this together, but I thought that was so interesting because we see that on the back of all these packages. And some of you, I think, like Nancy is a nutritionist, so she probably or has studied it a lot, so she probably knew this. But like, I think most people general, we don't know what a calorie is, and I think it's so important that like we learn and understand what these things are. That way, we're not just being pulled in all these directions, and we can make up our own mind how we should eat. Because, we're told, you might see this one doctor and some of these people online or influencers, and they're saying, you should eat this, you should eat that, you should eat this. But like, when I started researching each vegetable and each fruit and what it does and what is best for digestion and what calories are and what this is, it made it so much easier. Like, I lost weight by mistake, not knowing what I was doing at first, but when I really figured it out, I was able now to do it in a better way that supports all of the functions of my body, supports the brain, gives me energy so I'm not tired. If you're feeling not your best on a diet, then there's something wrong with the nutrients in the diet. So this is what's cool about plant-based foods, and I want to share this with you because this is really going to give you an idea when we talk about calories. Let's say, for example, this is someone, for example, let's say if you're whole food plant-based, which just, I use that phrase a lot for those of you who are new. That just means you're eating whole foods for the most part, not processed uh, meat alternatives. If we're talking about oats, grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, basically. But you can, that might sound weird if you're coming into this, but the combinations you can make, you'll see, are beautiful things that are going to taste like what you've already ate, with just like a few additions from the plant-based world. So oatmeal, let's say, for example, breakfast, you ate oatmeal with blueberries, a few dates or raisins for some sweetness instead of like, table sugar. And I didn't put it there, but I did put it when I was getting the calories added up. And then maybe you put some almond milk or any other plant-based milk. They have tons of them out there. Soy milk, plant-based. They've got vanilla or regular. You can make your own by soaking cashews or almonds. And so let's say you do that. That's about 260 calories. Let's say for lunch, you have a salad with lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, and vegetables. That's for those of you who want to, definitely start your meal with salad, and then like a large bowl of, let's say, vegetable or tomato soup, and 2 slices of Ezekiel bread, which Muriel just told me it has gluten in it. So for those gluten free, we'll have to find some other bread, but whatever healthy whole grain bread you choose, let's say. So this would, for example, give you 410 to 460 calories. And then, like, an alternative would be pinto beans and steamed vegetables. If you like that, would be like 300 to 350 calories. And then for dinner, you might have a salad to start with, barbecue tofu, which tofu, if you're new, sounds scary, but you can make it taste really good, like so many different textures. You might have steamed broccoli. I like using mushrooms more or less than tofu. I find it gives that same, for me, I can make it very versatile when I am eating whole food plant based and not fully raw. Um, like corn and snow peas, let's just say. So that whole day, and that should, let's put it that way. And then, even you could have probably a smoothie and not really add that much more after it if you wanted dessert or an ice cream, as they call it. But let's say all of that together was 1,000. Whoops, let me go back. How do I go backwards? Whoops. 1,000. You don't know if you can see that on the bottom. I might have cut it off, but there it is. The total is like 1,120 up to 270, I guess, on the higher end, depending on what you choose. So this whole day you've ate and you only hit 1,270 calories, which most of us recommend at like a 2,000 calorie diet. So if you look at that, it definitely seems to me like that would fill me up, all of that. I mean, you could even have a few snacks in here. You could have a peanut butter sandwich somewhere in here, or you could have a bunch of fresh fruit for your lunch after your meal, or whatever. You're still got plenty of calories to go, let's say, probably before you're at a point where you're not in a calorie deficit. Now, this is one thing I want to say to you also, like the effects of caloric restriction without proper nutrition. Let me see. I think this is what I wanted to go to. I'll go back to that slide. I think it got out of order, but let's look at another example. This is a whole food plant-based option too. So this one, let's say for breakfast, this is for my friends here who like to eat a lot of raw food like me. Let's say you have 4 clementines, or you can do like 2 or 3 large oranges. For lunch, you could do like 4 cups of grapes or half a watermelon. You could do a snack of 3 bananas. And then let's say your second snack, you have some sprouted bread with peanut butter. And then for dinner, you could have a salad with avocado, walnuts, vegetables, and sprouts, homemade ranch dressing, like a plant-based version, or vinaigrette. Or you could have a stir fry with the walnuts, peanuts, cashews over quinoa, or you could do like a brown rice if you prefer. Um, and then for dessert, this is my favorite dessert. You guys know I have 2 dates, handful of walnuts, cashews, peanuts, and almond milk. I love that. And then all of that together is about 1,770 to 2,090 calories. So you can mix and match a lot of things, but as long as you're keeping it like whole foods, you can see how these are affected as far as calories. Now let's take a look at a meat-based diet, and we're going to do right after this a plant-based alternative to this entire meal. But you could do breakfast, say someone does bacon, eggs, white toast with butter, coffee with cream. That would be around 430 to 520 calories. And then if you did a cheeseburger, fries, and a soda, you're at 13 to 1,600 calories. and then a steak, mashed potatoes with butter and vegetables. That's 850 to 1200 calories. And then say you have some ice cream or cookies for dessert, you're looking at another 700. So you're up to 3080 to 4020 calories. Now, what they tell you, sorry, I've got a emergency vehicle going by here. Just gonna let that pass. Sorry, guys. Uh, there we go. Okay, hope everyone's okay. Um, Sending thoughts to them and prayers. But bacon, all of this is 3080 to 4020 calories. And you can see that the difference is very significant. So when you try to eat, let's say, at a calorie deficit for this, it would be very difficult. And then if you wanted to, like, oh, some people try to cut their portions down, but who wants to eat a half of a cheeseburger and three fries? You might as well get your tastes over to healthier foods. And let's say you could do this whole food plant based if you did want to keep those same foods. For example, you could do um, tempeh, which is a version of uh, a tofu type thing. You could do it marinated and baked or pan fried strips for that smoky flavor. There's plenty of recipes I can share with you for these things. Tofu scramble, which is what a lot of people use as an egg substitute, seasoned with turmeric, black salt for that eggy taste, and a vegetable like spinach, onions, and bell peppers in it. You could do then whole grain toast with mashed avocados or almond butter. You could do coffee with plant based cream. This is the exact same meal, but doing it in a version that's going to cut down on those calories for you. And also, we'll learn later doing a bunch of great things for your body. You could use, I know coffee, I know a lot of people do it, so I left it in here. So it's definitely not something that, is necessary. But it is what it is. We want to learn the calories for the majority of people watching. So if we use unsweetened, let's say almond milk or oat milk instead of cream, that whole entire breakfast meal giving you those same flavors is 300 to 400 calories. And then for lunch, you could do a black bean burger, homemade black bean patty with spices and veggies served on a whole grain bun with lettuce, tomato, and avocado. You could do lunch also. You could do oven baked sweet potato fries, tossed in maybe a healthier alternative like olive oil instead of like the regular oil. You could do, not that I don't recommend a lot of oils, so some people don't prefer it, but it's definitely a healthier alternative. Sparkling water with lime as a soda like drink. And I've gotten used to over time drinking water with everything. I know that's an adjustment, but there's also fruit infused waters you can use and like sparkling drinks too. But that whole lunch is 500 to 700 calories. And then you could do for dinner a grilled portobello, which is similar to a steak. The way you season things really is what makes the difference. You could marinate that with savory herbs and balsamic grilled or roasted mashed potatoes with Yukon Gold potatoes, plant-based milk like almond milk, and the nutritional yeast, which is something a lot of people use for that, for like a little bit of a flavor and nutrition in it, like almost like a creaminess. And those I've made those around the holidays, mashed potatoes with almond milk and plant-based, butter too, and they taste really good if you're looking for that type of denser meal. Steamed vegetables like broccoli, green beans, Brussels sprouts, and a lemon and tahini sauce, for example. 500 to 700 calories. And then you do it for dessert, banana nice cream, which is like bananas blended with almond milk, cocoa powder, which Muriel loves. I know her cocoa powder. She and her grandson has some really good recipes with that. If you check out her page, ice cream, like it gives you an ice cream texture, and then chopped nuts or dark chocolate chips, which dark chocolate is actually considered plant-based. A couple of date sweetened energy bites. Made another example you could have is like a dates, made from oats, dates, and almond butter. These are like little energy balls. So all of this would be 1,500 to 2,100 calories compared to almost 4,000, double that just with the regular version of it. So you can see that you could have a lot of food, but because these are whole foods and not processed and they don't have the high saturated fat, you're going to be able to, and these are just examples. If none of this sounds good, there's 150 other ways you can do this. I just wanted to compare for you how you can't really, you wouldn't ever be able to eat as much of that of regular food as you would plant-based food, and you're going to already be in a calorie deficit, so you really don't have to restrict as much. Obviously we all have a certain point where we get full, but always make sure you're eating until that you reach that point, because that's what's going to help you sustain. And sometimes I know when we begin this, we're like overeating a little bit with the plant-based foods because we're used to denser foods, but that's okay in my opinion, because that's the only way you're going to keep doing it. And then this would be an example of, like, if you were eating, and some people like transitioning with the processed foods. And I think if you work in some processed food with your, especially in the beginning, like if you're not really good and your family wants cheeseburgers and you get a plant-based burger, I mean, that adding it in one meal or another is not going to make a big difference. But if you try to do only and don't do whole foods, you will also run down getting a high amount of calories and a little bit more difficulty losing weight. Because, for example, if you did vegan pancakes with maple syrup, vegan butter, and coffee, and you did a plant-based burger, fries, and soda on like regular white bread, and vegan pizza with the mock cheese and toppings, you'll see that the calories here are going to add up. If you did a pack of plant-based cookies or ice cream, you'd be at like 2850 to 3680 calories, which is still obviously lower than the meat-based version, and slightly healthier as well, which we'll talk about in a bit, of the dangers of regular meat. But you'll see that for your weight loss, the best thing you can do, and for your health really, is for us to eat as many whole, real foods that come out of the ground. And you can use different spices and things on those. I really recommend a really high amount of raw foods because they have a really good fiber and nutrients, and keeping all those nutrients whole. There are some things I know that people listening might say that it enhances some of the nutrients. So steaming things, boiling, I think keeps them just, if you can lightly steam and boil as much as possible, that retains the nutrients, but brings out, for example, in certain things, it makes it easier for you to chew and digest, which is why, like, for me, I can't chew a stalk of broccoli, so I like to steam my broccoli, right? It's really good. So it definitely is something you have to play with and tweak and get it right how you like it, but you have to start somewhere, and starting somewhere would be um you know would be just starting and going to the store, which we'll talk about in a little while. I forgot here also, I wanted to say, if you try to just lose weight with restricting your calories, I want to go back to this slide. I guess I'll stop here. Does anybody have anything they want to say or any questions? I know I'm going fast through this because I have like so many slides I made and so much I want to say. So I want to stop and make sure if anybody has anything they want to say or anything they want to ask. I'll just pause for a few minutes. Or maybe not a few minutes, but can everyone still hear me? Okay, good. I think somebody would have said no at this point. Let me look at the chat. I think there's a private chat here. Okay. I think we're all good because everybody's connected. Somebody probably would have been messaging me all over the place saying that they couldn't hear me. So this is really important, what I want to tell people. The effects of caloric restriction without proper nutrition. So, like, if you go into a diet where you're trying to do some oh, okay, let me get us. Okay, is that better? I didn't know I put everyone on mute and you couldn't get yourself off. Can somebody try to talk now?
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
you're doing good.
I'm new with not seeing the chat. I don't know. I must have hit that by mistake in the beginning, trying to mute myself. Everything okay?
I think it's going good.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I can hear you good. So
I was like, I will be so disappointed if we get through the whole thing and no one could hear me. And now I know you couldn't even talk and tell me that. Thank you. I appreciate
good.
you guys being here. It helps with the moral support right now. So I feel like my slides might be a little out of order, but my message is hopefully getting through.
I think it's good.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah.
So the effects of calorie restriction without proper nutrition. So if you try to do like a diet of just like, oh, I'm just going to eat one time, maybe I'm just going to eat like a pretzel every night or something, the basically you're missing a lot of things that you're going to need. So you're going to have a nutrient deficiency. You're going to be missing, like you're getting a weakened immune system, poor mental function. You might be low on iron, anemia, tiredness, weakness, calcium, and vitamin D. You'll have weakened bones, increased muscle loss, fracture risk. Like all of these nutrients that we are meant to eat in a plant based diet are what is needed for us to really feel our best. So that's why also when people do this the right way and they lose weight with the proper nutrients, whether it be fully raw, whole food plant based, or whole food plant based, adding a little bit of processed food. Either way, getting the full array of nutrients, however you have to do it, is really important. And I know people do a lot of mono meal eating, which is fine, but you have to pick something that has those particular nutrients in it because our bodies, the way that we absorb things, especially as we get older, we might be absorbing less of the nutrients. So it's important for us to also keep everything in balance. So a lack of protein might, lead to muscle breakdown for energy, slowing metabolism and hindering weight loss, where you don't want to have an excess of protein because then you're going to be affecting other functions. Like too much protein is not actually good for our brain. So the whole body really in the whole world in general works in a balance. Like for example, if you look at, there's a thing called the sodium potassium pump in our body where we have to have a balance of salt, sodium and potassium, which is found in plant foods. So a lot of people develop high blood pressure and other issues based on having too much sodium in their blood and not enough potassium. And so a lot of people would, like for that example, if I would have done the sodium on that breakfast sandwich example, you're probably getting more sodium than you would need in an entire full day, maybe even 2 days in that one meal. And then you're having another meal exactly with that high sodium. And then the plant based pizza might have the high sodium. And even though you feel you're eating plant based, if you're eating a lot too much sodium, we do need a little bit. And there's a little bit in certain foods. So if you're eating enough, you don't need to have added salt. But the point is, if you're not eating any potassium or getting that in your diet, which is, we all think of bananas, but a lot of plant based foods have them in it and have potassium in it, like avocados have it, for example, a high concentration. So it's important to remember that all plant foods have a lot of these nutrients that we need. Some have it in more concentrated versions, which we'll talk about why people think they need meat in their diet later on. But severe calorie restriction can cause starvation mode, reducing calorie burn and causing weight loss plateaus. So you can even, at some point you probably done this, like you'll go on a diet and you'll lose a bunch of weight, and then it's like, I don't know why I can't lose any more weight. And that's why, because your body is in starvation mode. So it is, it is not doing what it's supposed to at this point to help you lose weight. It is storing all of that fat because it doesn't know when you're going to eat again. So there's a lot of things to look at. Now, fasting is a really good thing to do. I do a lot of it myself. I don't eat from nighttime all the way until a certain time. Probably sometimes it depends. I'll eat yesterday I couldn't seem to get enough food, but I just listen to my body. If I'm hungry at 11 a.m., that's when I'll eat. If I'm not hungry till 4, that's when I'll eat. We get in habits, also of when to eat. And once we really clear out and start to realize our natural hunger signals, which we'll talk about, you'll find this happening to you more often, because a lot of our reason that we want to eat is just because we're like, oh, it's breakfast and I know I'm supposed to eat at breakfast. Our body isn't even really hungry yet. And sometimes if you realize your body, when it's not eating or it's not working to digest anything, it's actually able to use that energy to help other things. It might be trying to heal something, that we don't know of. So it's important to listen to our body once we have that true hunger, because a lot of it is the mental hunger that we think we need something to eat, but it just takes a while to get to that point, and it takes a while to absorb nutrients properly, especially if you've been eating an unhealthy diet for a long time. Your gut microbiome, which I didn't put a lot about in here, but just to touch on that for a minute, we have a microbiome that actually listens to us based on what we're putting in it. And when you put in a lot of unhealthy food, those little bacteria start requesting that food, and it will actually, you have something leading from your gut to your brain, the gut brain axis. It starts telling your brain that you need that type of food. You need the processed, or you need the salt and sugar. And when you eat healthy and you start putting that in, it's kind of like, if you're trying to like train, it's like retraining your brain and your gut to eat properly. Eventually, after you're on a certain kind of diet for about 4 or 5 days, it stops fighting you and it starts saying, okay, this, I see why you wanted me to do this. Like, like a child, if you're trying to tell them, no, you should do that, you should do it this way, and they don't want to listen, and eventually later on they're like, oh, I see why you told me to do that. That's kind of like what happens to your body in that state, where it's like, oh, now we're feeling good. I see why we were eating this way. Even though you wouldn't give me my cookies, I'm so happy you did make me those oat, energy balls or whatever you make, right? Because now I feel so much better. It disrupts your hormones like leptin and thyroid hormones, leading to increased hunger, weight loss difficulties, and mood swings even. Energy and fatigue, insufficient calories and nutrients lead to constant tiredness and low motivation, which is why a lot of people get off of diets. Poor nutrition. Immunity is a big thing, especially like when we're trying to, we're trying to work and we're trying to do things. Like, you'll notice that you will get sick a lot less when you're eating healthy. Mental and emotional health, brain fog, poor concentration, low mood, and anxiety. And no one wants to. This is another reason people give up on diets. If they start to feel bad, they'll think, well, maybe the unhealthy food was making me feel better, but it's just because you're not replacing those nutrients that you might have been getting by mistake while you were eating that way and gaining weight and not feeling your best and having certain diseases you're dealing with, or skin conditions or whatever it was. Maybe by mistake in that sugary cereal you were getting vitamin D, so you're not replacing it now with plant food. And vitamin C, I'll tell you, our body doesn't even make. Like, if you don't eat any type of plant-based foods or any type of oranges or citrus, and you're not getting any vitamin C, it can cause a lot of problems that you might not even know are resulting from the vitamin C deficiency. So vitamin D is not even really considered, it's not a vitamin, but we call it vitamin D. It comes from the sunlight, which a lot of people, aren't getting enough sunlight. So there's a lot of ways to be healthy, but the beginning is starting with what we're putting in our body. And let's just go back to, I think I was on. So hunger is often the body's signal for nutrients, not just calories. So our body was designed, like, from all the nutritional studies and comparative anatomy between us and those very similar to our digestive tract. If you look at it, we are definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, plant-based eaters. Herbivore, more specifically frugivore, which doesn't just mean fruit. I know a lot of people think it does, but we were meant to eat a majority of fruit and then we also are in need of leafy greens, nuts and seeds, and especially in our modern day, the way that the soils are and things, like we also and their need for like certain nutrients like proteins. There's a huge range of, just we're not living in the tropics, so we need more fat because we're not like we were where we originated in, like let's say we were all somewhere where they have these great fruits with lots of fats in them, like durian, some people have access to, and different things like that. There is a way you could probably get enough fats, but what you'll find is you would need certain kinds of fruits to do that, and you would need to eat a lot of it. So for most of us that are just trying to lose weight, even though maybe our body was designed for all, obviously all animals eat raw food, but even though ours we may have to manipulate a little depending on the world that we live in and where we are and what area we're in, and even supplement too, because there are certain things that you're not going to get out of your food, and there are certain supplements I take, like as I've gotten older. I know that over 40 we actually absorb iron, and if I'm not eating tons of iron rich, which I eat a lot of iron, but maybe I'm not absorbing it. So I'll take a multi-nutrient with iron in it. There are just certain things. That's why I recommend working with like someone who's done it before, and someone who knows how to do it healthy, if you're not going to do all the research, and help you come up with a meal plan and tell you what supplements to take just to be safe, because you don't always have the option to go to the doctors to help you with your diet or to get to the root cause. A lot of things when you go to the doctor is managed by medicine, and you'll find when you start putting the right nutrients in and stop eliminating them from your diet, you will start to feel so much better, and even start to potentially come off of your medications eventually, or have them lowered, or feel better with the conditions you've been dealing with. It's really amazing, a lot of the testimonials I've seen. This is just an example of something. There's a video on my page that I have that I think these are a bit out of order. Yeah, but basically this was my type 2 diabetes video that I did, a couple of snippets from it. So basically, when we talk about why we should eat meat, not eat meat, and high saturated fat, it's kind of like when you're putting a lot of that in, you're clogging the drains. So when we talk about the root cause of things, for example, your body, when you eat sugars of any kind, and it's actually has to leave your bloodstream eventually, and it goes into muscle and liver cells. So let's say, for example, you eat a diet over the years of really high saturated fat. You eat a diet of lots of meat, even maybe if have not only ate meat, but say you eat a lot of fried foods, but the highest concentration is dairy and meat of saturated fat. And that's why I believe we have so many people on high blood pressure medication, why we have so many people with type 2 diabetes, because when you look at your muscle and liver cells, there's little tiny particles of fat over time that get caught up in those, where your sugars are supposed to go. So eventually you're thinking, you know what, I don't understand. All of a sudden I'm having these symptoms. I used to be able to eat sugar. I used to be able to eat carbs, and your sugars basically cannot leave your bloodstream. This is your muscle and liver cells. So they kind of get that these this is not obviously a real depiction of it, but the little guy on the right there, you'll see all these red particles in front of it. And so when the sugar tries to get in, it's basically like the drain is clogged. The sugar can't leave your bloodstream, and insulin actually is what your pancreas produces to be able to open those locks. And the pancreas is just constantly it might produce extra insulin because it's not understanding why it can't let the sugars in. And so because these are blocked, your sugar starts backing up in your bloodstream, and eventually what happens is you might start to feel dizzy, or you're going to the bathroom a lot to try to excrete the sugar. And whatever symptoms you're having, all of a sudden your doctor tests your blood sugar and is like, oh, your sugar's high, so you need to give up anything with sugar in it. You need to give up everything with carbs in it, because carbs can convert over to sugar. They tell you to stop eating fruit, which is fruit doesn't even metabolize the same way. It doesn't even require barely any insulin, and it slows the sugar spikes because of all the fiber in it. So actually it's metabolized in the liver, not even the same process that table sugar goes through. So it's actually one of the best things that you could eat if you're watching your sugar, but it's also misunderstood because of this. And they tell you to stop eating it. So now you're stopping nutrients, and they might tell you to increase, like, if you're getting rid of fruit and you're getting rid of carbs, like, your healthy carbs, all of a sudden now you're in a nutrient deficiency, yet you still got the same problem because you probably increased your meat intake, which is increasing the blockage. So it's like the root cause, you would call a plumber. You wouldn't get medication, which now they're going to give you medication if it's too much sugar in your blood. They're going to give you medication to dip the sugar out. Whereas, it's kind of like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense once I learned the body why we would take a medication to lower our sugar instead of just stopping eating the saturated fat. Because when we put in the leafy greens, when we put in the bananas and the good foods, all of a sudden, this bottom one, it actually will clear out. And that's how you hear of people reversing type 2 diabetes with a plant-based diet, because all of a sudden the sugar can now get in their cell. So that's just one example that I've done a lot of research on, why this plant-based diet and putting a very high amount of plant-based foods and very little saturated fat. You can have healthy fats, which are like nuts, seeds, avocados. I usually do, we'll talk about this on the chart I share in a little bit, but how I do it is I try to keep it to probably 10-15% of those healthy fats in meals that I'm eating. But still, you do need those. But a lot of people don't realize there's a difference in fat and saturated fat. If you're having fried food, or you're having meat or milk with your cereal, you're getting extremely high saturated fat. You're getting stuff that's meant for a baby cow to grow to 1,000 pounds or whatever it is. So you definitely want to limit that. And there's other diseases attached to that we'll save for another one, but it's very unhealthy to have dairy in your diet, and also not very nice to cows. But and meat, they're two of the things that if you are still doing that, you want to really, really reduce and work on giving that up however you have to. And so this all sounds good and well, right? But here's where I came up with, how can we get people to do it? Because obviously I've heard a lot of stuff, and in theory I want to do it, right? It sounds really good. Yeah, I want to start exercising every day, but how am I going to get from point A to point B, especially if you're in the standard American diet and you are trying to get to a point where you're eating plant-based foods and really getting into all this, and starting to lose weight, but having to go off of your regular routine. And if you're a social person, you're dealing with a lot of, you have to do different, go to different events. Maybe you have children, they have to eat. So you really want to start, I think, in my opinion, working on your mindset. And I've started to think, how did I go from this point without even knowing it? How did I get from point A, from the standard American diet 5 years ago, cutting a switch and never eating meat again? And so my first thing was believing in your why, and then your why is going to evolve. So what I mean by that is, maybe to start with, you want to lose weight because you're having some health issues. Maybe your back's hurting. And this I didn't really get into during my transformational story. But when I actually stopped eating dairy and meat, within like 30 days, I my back pain that I had had for like over 18 years, I woke up every day in pain. Especially it would get worse even throughout the day as I sat. And all of a sudden, all those things, those muscles restricted, that let up after 30 days of eating fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. The second thing that happened was, since then I've never had seasonal allergies since that first year. Within 6 months I had lost 55 pounds. I had a lot of energy. So like these things, these foods really do heal us. And anything you're dealing with, including like skin conditions, even diseases that you may have been told are not reversible, adding plant-based foods and eating this way can and does heal so many people. Like, I have a YouTube channel, which obviously most of you know about, but for those of you new to it, where it's called Amazing Transformations. And you can go on there in the live tab, especially, and listen to transformational stories of people curing their rheumatoid arthritis. And this was a lady at 74, Miss Mary. There's people on there that have cured everything under the sun that you could think of, honestly. They have cured type 2 diabetes, lost weight, so many things, that you, high blood pressure, heart disease, like, you will be amazed at how many things. And I know a lot of you here have heard these same stories. And you might hear people say, well, I've been eating, this, I hate that diet, but the carnivore diet, because you'll see that putting all that saturated fat, what is it doing long term? Of course, they say that because they're feeling better, because they've eliminated all the other stuff that they were eating and are only eating one single thing. So in the beginning, you're going to feel better, but putting all that saturated fat in is creating your arteries to clog and different things. So those diets are what scare me the most when people do those. But basically, your why might be to lose weight, like mine was. But as I kept going, I was like, after 30 days, when I realized my back pain went away, my new why was, oh, I want to keep my back pain gone. So it's not worth it for me to eat, the old way because of that. And so the next thing I knew, like I said, then I got a new why, because I learned what happened with animals. So then I would never have went back to it. And then, like, throughout the time, I've noticed that when I eat either all raw or high raw vegan diet, I feel a lot better. When I eat whole food plant-based, I feel a lot better than vegan junk food. So while I might eat something on the holiday, let's just say, or something that I wouldn't normally eat as far as a vegan processed food, I always try to move back to that, because that's my real why, to feel my best. Like, because we all want to feel our best and be at our optimal weight. So I think you have to find out what that why is, and making your mind up that you have a why is the most important thing. And then always, able to lean on that why. And then as you go along, your why might change or things will add on to it, but you have to start somewhere. And my biggest advice I could give to you is, and what I did was, that night I went out to the store when I decided I was going to do this, or that day, and bought like all kinds of awesome, like, vegetables. I just bought everything and put it in the house, all kinds of fruits. Well, I didn't buy a lot of fruit then, but I guess tomatoes are fruit. But get all the stuff that you like, and maybe even some things that you want to try, like, that you haven't had in a while. Get a bunch of vegetables, get a bunch of, um, uh, mushrooms, sprouts, all kinds of fruits that you might like, and start getting that stuff and getting excited about it. And start watching. um you can go online, there's so many things now that they have. um you can go online and, find, you can YouTube it, or even if you don't want to go to my page, but you can YouTube it. And also for, like, um let's say, like, if you're thinking of either you're making this big salad and you're cutting up celery, which is really good for you. Look up the health benefits of celery while you're cutting it up for your salad. Look up the health benefits of cucumbers. Look up the health benefits of mushrooms. Like, you're going to be amazed. Start getting into that. Look up how I healed from a plant-based diet, how I lost weight on a plant-based diet. Like, get those transformational stories, get in communities. I have a Facebook group called Veganology, and then I also have like a free club that you can get in, the Amazing Transformers Club. I know it's been a bit crazy. I haven't gotten an email out in a minute, but this Thursday I've got a bunch of emails coming to you, and you get like free tips on the page. We can, you can ask questions. I try to share recipes and really like information that's going to help you on your plant-based journey. It's a lot of information focused for beginners, especially too. We have a lot of experienced people in the group. We have people of all kinds of how they practice veganism, whether their diet is whole food, plant-based. We even have like a lot of people on there who are themselves influencers and coaches, raw vegans. If you're just starting out and you want some plant-based alternatives, I've got a video on that. It's like we have a lot of the reason I wanted to do this was to share vegan knowledge, basically. And the weight loss, again, is just a product of you putting the healthy foods in your body. But the important thing is you have to learn yourself and you have to get that buy-in. And when you join communities like Facebook groups, whether it's mine or others, you can see other people's questions. You can conversate with people, because very little people in our regular life are plant-based or worried even about their health or losing weight. A lot of people are just going along or healing their body naturally. And knowing that, just like when you get a cut on your hand, your body, what does it do? As long as you keep the cut clean and you don't continue to bother it, your skin grows back together. It's so important for you to learn, like I did, that your body is the same way. It wants to get to your optimal weight. It wants you to run on the least amount of calories and run efficiently. It wants you to be alive. It wants you to, it wants to be able to move around. It wants to do things with the greatest ease. And putting plant-based foods in your body are what does that. And the more you can get into that whole community of people that are there to support you, there to help you, is so important. And you want to get excited about what you're adding. Don't worry about what you're eliminating, because the more of the good stuff, the more you get excited about all these foods and making different combinations and finding a smoothie that you like, and all these things, and like a new recipe that you might share, whether a new salad dressing that you've made up. It's really important for you to find that community and learn and educate yourself. And I think when we feel like we are giving something up is when we also run back the other way. But the only way to do that is to replace it with what you are now into and what you're adding to it. And those other things will eventually move out of your diet, because your motivation will become greater to want to put good stuff in your body. It won't be just a diet anymore. It's going to be for healing and for making yourself feel the best that you can feel. And it's also leads to motivation to want to exercise, because when we're not eating healthy, we're in a very low motivation. We're not getting all those nutrients we need. Meat has no real, it has concentrations of nutrients, but it does not have the nutrients that you really need to build energy. It doesn't have vitamins in it. It just basically is empty food, is how I look at it, because we were created to eat plants. So we need those things in our diet. And I think the more we can add those fresh whole foods in, the better you're going to start to feel. You're going to start to want to move around. You'll see your attitudes better. Like my focus, my clarity is so much better since I've been eating healthy. It's like a new level, and adding, like, if you can stay, like what I do is I eat all raw foods, like all fruit, basically all the way up until dinner time. And then On the very rare occasion, maybe I might have something for lunch, like vegetables, but mostly I eat fruit. And then at night, I'll eat like a big salad sometimes when I'm on my fully raw, but I always make sure to have a lot of healthy fats or some steamed vegetables. I have this really good mixture I want to share with you guys. I thought I put it in here under the recipes, but I don't know where it went. I must have lost the slide. Maybe I did share it earlier. It was like cabbage, mushrooms, broccoli. It's got celery, tomatoes. You can add a little bit of like a organic soy sauce in it. Snow peas, I remember that because I added it. Oh, and during the day I always do like my bananas, and I will share with you, like, I know I share a lot on the Facebook and in my emails, but the supplements I use and things like that. So I've learned how like this works for me, and I have a great like dessert, several different desserts that I like, depending on what I might be into at the time, like a lot of good smoothies with nuts and bananas, and it's just things that can really give you the health but also taste good. Like that's what we're going for here. Our body has just been programmed to eat a certain way or to think this is the food we get for a reward. From the minute we're young, we think a cookie is a reward. So like if you need to have a cookie, if you can make a whole food plant-based cookie, you're going to be doing really well. And if you can get yourself to a mindset where you really get into whole foods, eventually that will change over and you'll find that your body is seeking that. The really over processed food doesn't taste as good anymore. You're going to really have to like start somewhere though. And that's where this comes in. Initiate a plan. So like don't overcomplicate it either. Like, don't say, I got to learn about a bunch of recipes. No, just go to the store, buy a bunch of fruits, buy some beans, buy some quinoa. If you know what that is, it's it's a seed actually, but it's like a rice substitute, or you can buy like a whole grain rice. Whatever you need to do, get those plant based foods in the house. And then just do anything small to begin. Like, eat good things first, like in your diet. Like every day, start out by saying, you know what, I'm going to have fruit and a salad, and plan what you want each day and just get it from the store and go and start doing that. And that little thing is going to start setting you on the right trajectory. You want to eat the good things first. What I mean by this is if you're trying to move into this realm, start out your day at least eating good, right? And then when you get to dinner, eat the plant-based food first. If you can't sustain it or you need something else, you can always do that. But the important thing is fill up on the good stuff and find things you love. Realize also, like I said, your tastes are going to change, but you have to do something to begin. Like if I think something's too complicated, I've told a lot of you this, I won't do it. I'll just keep putting it off. But it can really be simple. And I'm really, I have a lot of people here, they already meet with me or have met with me, but I'm happy to meet with you. Just message me. I'll put all my information wherever you're watching this video, and we can meet, come up with a meal plan that works in your life, or start small. I've got a little like journal I can give you that I've given some people here that might help if you each day talk about 2 things you did that was really good for your diet, 2 things that you are struggling with, and then meeting with me weekly to talk about it, and I eventually want to do a group session too, where we can all talk so that you might be able to hear other people's struggles and how they overcame them, and that can help. So I think having community is really important, whether it's just meeting with me, if you're comfortable with that each week, or to meet with a group of people to help you, because it's really important. Like without the groups and without you guys, a lot of you here become like my best friends, because it's really nice to be around like-minded people who are trying to always stay healthy and learn about veganism and plant-based food. So thank you. And then savor your small wins. Don't get caught up on what you did wrong. Always think about, oh, this is what I did right. Maybe you went out to dinner and you couldn't quite get your mind to it if you're new to vegan and your family, was eating something else and you did it. But what did you do for lunch? You had your fruit for lunch, so let's look at the things you're doing right, and that's going to help you to continue to do those more of those things, because it's just like a boss that's always telling you everything you did wrong. You just get very unmotivated, like, why am I even doing anything? He never says, or she never tells me that I did something right. Look what I did last week. I helped with this project and stayed after, and no one said anything. Like, we don't like that when other people do it. So please don't do that to yourself. Please look at, I was so kind to someone today, even if it's something small like that, or I shared a recipe with someone, or I ate, I ate my fruit for lunch. I ate a salad before my dinner. Little things are going to make you more motivated to do more of those things. We want to do things we're excited about. We don't want to do things that make us feel bad and have a negative connotation behind it. So the best thing you can do is get excited about, losing weight. Get excited about putting healthy stuff in your body. Get excited about all this new knowledge you have. And you can always post your progress in the group. You can message me, and note your struggles and talk about it, because that's also important, not to keep it in, because somebody else has had that same struggle. I guarantee it. And we've all gotten over it. So we can share that, how we did it. And then sustain is the last S of this bliss method. Stay excited. Tweak your meal plans. Like, you guys watch me online, I'm always all over the place. I was doing the salad challenge, and then I've got this new steamed veggie meal, and I've got all fruit, all raw. Whatever I'm doing, I'm always keeping it as healthy as possible, but it sometimes tweaks and evolves. So it eventually just becomes a habit. Little things might change, but eventually it's just, what you go for when you go in the store. All your plant-based favorites. What you're eating. You start to share these things with your family. You start to come up with, oh, look at this great, plant-based creation. It's really fun, and it's a really good community to be in, that is really not only good for your own health. It's good if you can bring this to your family as an example, and to your friends. They're going to start to see you feel healthy, and you might be able to help them by your example. We can't always push people, but you might be able to help them heal things that they're dealing with, and tell your story. If you feel comfortable and you have a really good story to tell about your transformation, I would love to have you. I think I've had almost everybody I know. Lee is getting ready to come on with me, but everybody here, and I'm waiting. Tara's going to be next. I know it, but I know Muriel and Nancy have both been on, and I really appreciate them coming on and sharing their plant-based, journey. And I'm just really, really thankful for you all being here. Again, this is like I was stumbling through my first weight loss workshop. Hopefully I did okay, but I hope a lot of people who may not have understood why you can lose weight with plant-based food. I think that was my main point. You can eat a lot and you'll end up weighing less. Just by chance, you're healing things, and you can eat a lot more of this food because it's less calories and it's a lot better for you. And also, hopefully the mindset things helped a little bit. So there's a lot of ways. Like I said, just message me, click the links that are in the description if you're watching the recording, and know that I'm very proud of you just for at least taking the step to work on yourself and to work on losing weight. And don't get caught up in the weight loss, even though you want to lose weight. Get caught up in just putting as many good things as you can. Don't get down on yourself if you mess up a little. That we all do it, and we just get back. It's what we do 90% of the time. And if you join the gold VIP like Muriel did, thank you, Muriel, you can get all the wraps for free. So thank you. But
thank you, Jen.
Thank you, and join my YouTube channel. And I think that's all I had. How's everybody still here with me? Thank you guys for hanging in there. I know it was longer than I wanted it to be.
You're welcome. It was very well done.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end the recording, but I'll still be here if anybody has any questions. Thank you, everyone, for watching.